Hey everyone, before we dive into the dark history of Nestle, let me tell you about a funny thing that happened to me recently. It all started when I was standing on the street in one shoe, and this fancy dude, smelling like expensive cologne, came up to me and said, "Look at yourself, how scruffy and dirty you are. You even lost a shoe somewhere." And I'm like, "I didn't lose it, dude, I found it." Then he just looked so sad, gave me this pitiful look for like a minute, pulled out his wallet, handed me some bills, and walked away. I was so happy. I went and got myself some chicken at KFC, and then decided to treat myself to a Kit Kat at the supermarket. Standing at the checkout, the cashier says to me, "Do you know you're buying from the devil?" "What do you mean?" I asked. "Kit Kat is made by Nestle, and that company is pure evil," she said, grabbing the chocolate from me and stomping on it. I thought, man, what's up with people these days? Can't even let a homeless guy be. But I'd heard some stuff about Nestle being shady before. So, I decided to dig into this company's story and see if it's as bad as they say. Spoiler alert, it is. Nestle is the world's largest food and beverage manufacturer. The corporation owns over 2,000 different brands worldwide and sells chocolate, cereals, coffee, baby food, water, ice cream, and more. In fact, it's hard to shop and not buy something from Nestle. Yet, they are accused of some really horrific stuff like child slavery and infant deaths. They even claim that simple water shouldn't be a human right. And countless other scandals. So what's the real deal? And if Nestle is indeed so evil, how do they get away with it? This video takes you on a journey into the dark world of Nestle, peering behind the curtains of one of the most controversial companies in history. But to understand Nestle's story, we first need to go back to the man who started it all. Nestle's boom began with the birth of Henry Nestle in Frankfurt in 1814. He was the 11th of 14 kids in a family of glaziers, where the trade passed down from father to son for generations. However, as Henry grew up, he got into chemistry and decided to become a pharmacist, not sticking with the family business. This caused a rift between him and his folks. At 15, he started apprenticing with a pharmacist, then moved to Switzerland, working on medicines and conducting chemical experiments. In Switzerland, Henry founded Nestle, and the company's headquarters are still there today. Henry tried all sorts of things to make it in business, from making liquors and vinegars to rum, lemonade, and even fertilizers. But luck wasn't on his side. None of his ideas really took off. Then came a turning point. Henry stumbled upon a report about many infants dying because their moms physically couldn't breastfeed them or due to the baby's milk allergies. His eyes lit up. "This is it, my calling," he thought. And so it began. Henry rolled up his sleeves and started experimenting to create a baby formula. His wife, struggling with her health, supported him in this venture. By 1867, Henry had created one of the first baby formulas, a mix of cow's milk, flour, and sugar. He then founded Nestle and began selling this mix. Soon, Henry went from an unknown pharmacist to one of Switzerland's richest men, and Nestle kept growing. By 1873, his factory in Vevey was producing 2,000 cans of formula a day, but that wasn't enough to meet orders. And in 1874, Nestle sold his business for 1 million Swiss francs to Swiss politician Jules Monrat, who began expanding production. Some say the growing company became a headache for Henry, who wanted to relax and spend time with his wife, and that's why he retired and sold his company. Nevertheless, the new owners of Nestle merged in 1905 with rival Anglo-Swiss, becoming known as the Nestle Group. By the 1920s, Nestle was making chocolate candies and various drinks, and by 1938, they'd created the first mass-market coffee, popular among soldiers during World War II. Over time, Nestle's product list and their wealth and power grew. But behind the scenes, a plan was brewing that could make millions but risk millions of lives. When Henry Nestle first created his baby formula back in 1867, the whole idea was to help moms who couldn't breastfeed their kids. He wasn't trying to fully replace breast milk, and the reason was that studies showed natural breast milk was healthier than any formula. But in the 1970s, formula sales slowed down, and Nestle got greedy. They wondered, why are we losing money? Why not sell this baby formula to all moms, not just those who physically can't breastfeed? See, despite all the other products Nestle had launched, baby formula was still one of Nestle's biggest revenue streams. Imagine how much more money they could make if they could expand their market to all mothers. And then the real horror began. I'd light up right now. but I haven't yet collected enough money from passersby for cigarettes. So, in the 1970s, Nestle expanded its baby formula market and started advertising their formulas as better than breast milk. They tried to manipulate buyers, spreading rumors that their formulas were beneficial for infants and provided nutrients that breast milk didn't. They even bribed medical professionals to testify in their defense. This is so ethically horrendous. No one can dispute it. Their ad campaigns urged mothers to replace breast milk with baby formulas. The worst thing Nestle did was hire saleswomen in developing regions of Asia and Africa and send them to give medical advice to mothers and hand out free formula samples. Uneducated mothers from underdeveloped countries believed these women, dressed as nurses. The free samples were weighed and strategically packaged to last until the mothers became fully dependent on the formula and stopped breastfeeding themselves. Nestle's horrific PR move led to thousands of infant deaths, as mothers completely replaced their breast milk with Nestle baby food. As a result, the babies lacked the essential nutrients provided by breast milk. The consequences were worst in underdeveloped regions of the world, where mothers diluted the formula with too much water to save money, unknowingly starving their children. Breast milk provides all the vital elements for a child's development and immune system. Due to the lack of natural milk, infants from underdeveloped regions, without access to clean water, suffered from many diseases and died. This led to thousands of deaths, and the media even dubbed the formula baby killers. A massive boycott of Nestle began. Many European universities, colleges, and schools banned the sale of Nestle products in their stores and vending machines. In the UK, 73 student unions, 102 businesses, 30 religious groups, 20 health groups, 33 consumer groups, 18 local authorities, 12 trade unions, educational groups, 31 MPs, and many celebrities supported the boycott. As a result of all this noise, the World Health Organization adopted the International Code of Marketing of Breast Milk Substitutes in 1981, putting an end to Nestle's aggressive advertising campaign. But the damage was done. The company tried to clean up its image and started mentioning in their ads that breast milk can't be replaced. Now, the company is trying hard to maintain a spotless image of its baby formula after the major blunder related to the baby killer. The company promotes ads encouraging mothers and talking about the benefits of natural milk, but they still push baby food and bribe healthcare workers in countries with lenient laws, and they still get away with it. Sadly, I have to say, the dark history of Nestle is just beginning. Brace yourself for even more shocking outcomes. Nestle is also one of the leading bottled water manufacturers. The water is packed in single-use plastic, leading to environmental pollution and the death of millions of marine creatures. During beach cleanups, most of the collected plastic bottles belong to Nestle brands, proving Nestle is one of the main sources of water and land pollution. But it's not just the plastic bottles that are harmful. The water itself, filled into plastic bottles, does just as much, if not more, harm to the environment. No matter how beautiful the images of springs, lakes, and mountains on the labels, almost all the water in Nestle's bottled water comes from underground. Nestle is accused of exploiting groundwater in areas where it's most needed by the population and selling it for profit. Basically, Nestle takes clean, accessible water from people, bottles it, and sells it back to them. Mind-blowing. Sometimes I'm glad I hardly have any money and rarely buy all this corporate junk. The company is also guilty of taking water sources from countries where people are forced to drink dirty water because their clean water sources have been acquired by Nestle for their bottled water factories. In 2013, the corporation started taking clean water from locals in Pakistan and using it for their factories, leaving the population no choice but to drink sewage and sludge water. And it's not just in Pakistan. The devilish corporation does the same in many underdeveloped countries with rich natural resources that Nestle can easily exploit due to tax regulations. In the San Bernardino National Forest in California, Nestle extracts more than 100 million liters of water every year, despite severe droughts. For years, the region has seen intense battles between local authorities and the corporation, with Nestle currently having the upper hand. They pay just $524 annually for unlimited water extraction, citing a permit dating back to 1865. After hearing more of the story, I might stop buying Kit Kat. Y'all know Nestle has a vast range of chocolate, right? But do you know where their cocoa comes from? Turns out, it's sourced through forced child labor and human trafficking. In the 2000s, Nestle, along with other chocolate companies, was accused of using child labor for their cocoa. They promised to fix things by 2005 and produce chocolate ethically, but they didn't really follow through. The company claims that most of these kids working on cocoa farms are farmers' children. They say these farmers are poor, can't send their kids to school, and need help to survive. But that's kinda ironic, isn't it? Nestle is the one paying these farmers for cocoa, so why not help them? If they offered the farmers a fair price for their labor, the farmers could afford not to involve their kids in work. Basically, Nestle should solve this problem by offering more money to the farmers so they can live decently and not force their kids into labor. Nestle tried to clean up their image by using fair trade labels to show their chocolate's ethical production. But this didn't address the main issue of illegal child labor on their farms and factories, where it's still being used. Seems like you just can't beat the devilish corporation. In this world, it turns out that the most important thing isn't the soul, people's feelings, laws, or ethical standards. It's money. Think about it, who needs me if I'm a nice, kind, and cheerful homeless guy? But even though I'm homeless, I once lived a lavish, wealthy life. I can't seem to shake off those old habits, so I consider the janitors who clean the street where I sleep as my gardeners or butlers. Anyway, I got sidetracked. I never thought I'd end up like this. Just like Henry Nestle probably never thought his company would lead to all these scandals. Are corporations unequivocally evil, or are there exceptions? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to my channel. You are supporting my fragile existence.